Okay guys, what's up? I'm back with another Refold immersion update video. It's a little bit before I hit the 5-month mark, but I'll just call it the summer update because I feel like that rolls off the tongue a lot cleaner. Don't mind the background. It's a little different. I moved out of my parents' house into a place that's near my university for the next fall, but I just came back home and I don't have access to my room right now. So I've been taking up my mom's office space, so that's why the background is a little different. But yeah, and I'm back at home right now because I'm about to go on vacation, like literally right after filming this. So it's a little noisy, so forgive that if you can. But I'll just get right into it. I guess I'll start with Premade Decks that I've done and have completed since the last time I've made a video. Yeah, so RTK, traditional RTK, 2200 kanji. I ended up dropping that. I got like to 1900 kanji, but I wasn't really, like, my retention rate was pretty trash, but I would just hit like pass on everything because the reviews at that time were getting up to like an hour and a half, and I didn't want to hit fail and add to those reviews. So I knew, like, after a certain point that I probably have to drop it and go find another way of learning. So I did RRTK, the 1000 most common kanji with the kanji radicals, and I finished that in like a month. It wasn't hard at all after going through the bulk of RTK, and yeah, reviews are like 10 to 20 cards a day now, so that's pretty cool. For grammar, I read Take Him like once. I don't know if I mentioned it in the last video, but I put it in like an SRS, like the Take Him Anki grammar deck. So I've just been repping that. And yeah, I got through that. I'm just doing reviews for that now. I deleted some cards in the beginning when I was doing it, but then I kind of just like started leaving them in there even if I knew it, just because it would be like a lot quicker to click pass than sort and delete cards. But yeah, vocabulary. I got through the Tango N5 and N4 books. Tango N5, I was doing 25 cards a day, knew most of the words, so that's why I was going through it that quickly. Tango N4, I started at 25, but then there were new words, so I couldn't maintain the pace that I wanted to when I was going through the N5, so I decreased it from like 25 words a day to 15. But I'll talk about this, I'll go into depth a little bit about it later, but it was like right when I was starting the N4 deck, I got into sentence mining, so I ended up decreasing the card count on Tango from 25 to 15, but I also started sentence mining, and I did like anywhere, like on average, let's say like 10 cards a day, 5 to 10 cards a day. So I was basically still doing 25 new cards a day for the duration of the Tango N4 deck. And then, yeah, shortly after that, I just kept on sentence mining. I didn't do the Tango N3 right away, just because, I just liked mining more from shows and things that I was immersing with instead of doing like a pre-made deck with words. But my mind has changed on that. I'll talk about it in a little bit. And other than those pre-made decks right now, the one thing that I can think about is pitch accent. And pitch accent's actually been like a pretty like heavily debated thing in the community for like the past few months or so. I'm of the opinion where, like, I want to study it, so I'll obviously put some time there. And the way that it's like seemingly made out to be is kind of like Matt's point that I kind of agree with. Like, if you're planning to spend hundreds and thousands of hours studying Japanese, why not spend a few like learning pitch accent and things like that and improving the way you speak ultimately. So I plan to do that. I haven't started studying pitch accent yet. Maybe like sometime next month or in a few months I'll go through Dogen's course on pitch accent, and I hear there's like an Anki deck for that. But other than that, I think that's really the last pre-made deck I plan on doing. So yeah, I guess I'll talk a little bit now about the Tango N3 deck and sentence mining, my experience with that so far. Next, so basically, like when I said I got into sentence mining, I use Migaku tools, by the way. So I first did the 40-hour 7-day language challenge back in May, and I did that successfully. And yeah, I was able to just like really mine stuff, like things that I was reading, because it was also at that time where I got into reading manga. Like I think during that week I read like 10 volumes of manga, which was like pretty big for me because I'd read more manga in that week than in the previous month, because like in my first month of immersion I really just watched anime, but during that week I was reading and also watching, so that was cool. But yeah, I did sentence mining, and you know, since then, after I finished the N4 deck, I've just continued to get my vocabulary from sentence mining shows and things like that. But you know, this summer, and I'm sure everyone has probably had this experience sometime or another, there's just times where you're able to immerse, but you're not able to like sentence mine due to just like time constraints and things throughout the day. And that's been happening a little bit more, it's been happening like a little more than I want it to, especially like these past 2 weeks for me. So, and like going forward into the fall where I'm like entering my second year of university, where I know I'll kind of be like sparse for time because the plan is for it to be in person as opposed to online. I think it's a good idea for me personally to go through the Tango N3 deck in the same fashion where I did the N4 deck, where I do like 15 cards a day and then sentence mine what I can on the side, just to add vocabulary, just so, you know, that way where if I have days where I'm missing out on words, I just have the Tango deck words to come in. And everyone that I've seen who's made a video regarding the N3 and what I've seen on Reddit online and on Discord and other things like that, it seems like the Tango deck is still, you know, pretty effective and has a good amount of words. So I mean, free words, free real estate, like, you know, why not? But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. Other than that, now that we're out of pre-made decks, yeah, I guess I'll talk about reading. So like I said before, the 40-hour 7-day language challenge, that's when I really got into like reading manga and other things like that. So yeah, if you don't know what that is, check out Seabolt Speaks and Language Come Up. Though I think those are the two channels who really like popularized that challenge specifically. So yeah, definitely check them out. But yeah, basically up until that point, I was not doing any reading really. But during that week, I think I read like Quintessential Quintuplets, Domestic Kanojo, Takagi-san, I think that's what it's called, I forgot. But yeah, bunch of reading. And this is kind of like the strategy that I've been trying to like employ going forward with like, I guess I'll talk a little bit about it now, but I'll mention it later. I'll mention it now, but I'll talk a little bit more about it later, like light novels and things like that. But yeah, basically, I read manga for anime that I already knew like the majority of the plot for, and that I knew like had material that surpassed an anime, just so that way like up until that point I didn't really have to worry about like following the plot of the story, but more just like comprehending what's going on. And you know, as you get away from like the anime, what the anime has adapted, then it's like new stuff and it's more engaging. And yeah, I basically read all of Domestic Kanojo. That was the first full series I read in Japanese. You know, the first few volumes were kind of hazy, which was to be expected because, you know, getting into like the whole new like medium of like reading can be tough at first. But you know, it's not impossible like anime, like when everyone starts immersing and doing anime, it's largely incomprehensible at the start, but the more you do it, the better you get at it. And that was my experience for Domestic Kanojo and all other manga that I went into after. And Yeah, after that, I just kept on reading manga. I got through Quintessential Quintuplets, Domestic Kanojo, Horimiya, um, Grand Blue, uh, a Silent Voice. Yeah, there's like a bunch of, well, not a bunch, but a good amount of manga series that I just read through like fully. And I'll link my Annie list in the description of this video for you guys to check out. That kind of like tracks pretty much everything. And yeah, I pretty much recommend anything that's above an 8. So yeah, check that out. But after, I think Grand Blue was the first manga that I read that didn't have furigana, and I think it's the only one that I've read that doesn't have furigana. But yeah, I read Grand Blue after reading a few series, and I kind of used that as like my stepping stone into getting into raw text. So yeah, I've actually read a few light novels up until this point, which is pretty cool. A little bit before I reach month 5, I've read 2 volumes. I've completed 2 volumes of Classroom of the Elite, and I'm currently halfway through volume 1 of Bunny Girl Senpai. And you know, my experience with raw text so far is definitely a lot more challenging. There's a lot of like literary text words that you would never hear in conversation, similar to in English. Like I can't think of a word, but you know, there's definitely like book vocabulary, and yeah, I mean, like, it's just, there's definitely a learning curve to it. And you know, my first time going through Classroom of the Elite, it was like, since I employed like the same strategy of like going through an anime that I already know pretty well, and just like, you know, reading it. So there were like, you know, scenes that I recognized and things like that and could follow, but there was just a lot of stuff that was like largely incomprehensible. But it was like patches, so there would be maybe like, I could understand what's happening on one page, and then like 5 pages pass, and then yeah, I don't get anything, or barely get things. But I mean, I just kept on pushing on, and that's kind of the attitude I've been going at since. After my first volume of Classroom of the Elite, second volume was a lot easier to follow. I think it also has to do with like the author's like prose and like word choice. Like, you know, things start flowing the more you get through a certain novel. And yeah, I mean, right now, because I switched up from like Classroom of the Elite into like another series like Bunny Girl Senpai, you know, it's still like a little hazy, but I think little by little I'm getting better at reading raw text. But I will say, you know, I've probably had some doubts here and there, because now that I'm getting into this like raw text and other things, and I don't want to confidently say that I'm out of like the beginner stage, but like, you know, now that I've like spent significantly like more time immersing, it's been a little frustrating to see that there's still a lot of things that I don't understand. And I've definitely like since the beginning been like very comfortable in dealing with ambiguity, but it's just like the time investment after like hours and hours. It's like, ugh, still so much to go. But you know, I'm still going through it. I'm still, you know, because the only way to get better at reading is to read. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Yeah, but other than reading, I think that pretty much sums up my reading experience. But for manga, like manga is pretty cake. Like I can read, like the series that I've read so far, I've been able to understand like relatively well, and to get through 1 volume of like Grand Blue or just like anything takes me like around an hour, maybe less. But yeah, raw text, I think Classroom of the Elite, the first volume took me like almost a week, maybe longer, and then the second volume was like the same, like 5 to 7 days, and Bunny Girl Senpai is probably gonna take like 5 days. But yeah, definitely a lot denser texts that take a while to get through. So if you plan on reading raw text or light novels, that's kind of a sneak peek in what you're in for, I guess. Yeah, let me just talk about listening next. Okay, so for like watching shows and anime, yeah, I've gotten a lot better at it actually. I think. Like I've noticed it. I still watch all my shows with subtitles, and that's just because it makes I like to mine my words from anime, because I like how Migaku has like the audio for the entire sentence, which is nice. And yeah, I mean, I just watch with subs just because it makes the whole process of mining easier. But I mean, most shows that I've gotten into recently, like I used to like care, like I know Refold has their whole like levels of comprehension thing, but I've kind of like after a certain bit, like I think there have been some shows where I've been like really like level 4 comprehension, but I think I'm gonna stop using that just because like I'm at the point where most of the shows that I consume, like slice of life, that's mainly what I'm into right now, the main domain. It's like definitely like 3 and above. Like I'm able to follow the story. I'm able to understand what's going on like relatively well, and if there's something I don't know, then I know why I don't know it. Like if there's like a word or something in there, then yeah. But I mean, yeah, it's gotten a lot easier watching with subs. You know, if I probably took off the subtitles, it's probably a different story. But I mean, I'll take off subtitles when I feel like it. Not really a need right now, that I can see at least. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like maybe I'll take off subs whenever I feel like it. I'm not really sure what to say, but I think that covers most of it. So yeah, that's most of the main updates for everything. But yeah, I guess now I wanted to talk a little bit more about my experience with immersion and other things like that are kind of like not related. I guess just like the time investment that comes with like immersion, because I feel like you know, even though everyone who puts out these videos obviously has their own experience with it, and we've like all have to like give up time to put into this, I feel like it's not something that's like talked about a lot in these update videos. So I kind of wanted to like throw some light on that side from like my perspective and let other people like see, you know, kind of the reality of it. So yeah, to get started, last year, like the 2021 academic year was like my first year in university, and it was all online. And you know, the way that I started immersing in like March, but I started studying Japanese in like October, like traditional textbook method, like self-study, that type of stuff. So I would like chunk it off where I would study in like 4-hour blocks for Japanese. Like I would cut off a section of my day to it. So for like 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. that was like designated Japanese study time when I was, you know, first getting into it. And I was like pretty good about that. And when I switched over from like traditional textbooks to like immersion, which was like more towards like my second semester of college, that's when, you know, classes started picking up and things like that. Because my first semester I took it kind of light. Second semester I was like, okay, now that we're like acclimated to the college environment, let me like pick up some more classes, some more units. So yeah, I did that, and I started, you know, slipping a little bit in my classes, and I recognized that, but I didn't want to let like my Japanese suffer. So I consistently kept like that 4-hour block from like 9 to 1, like immersion, and then the rest is just like schoolwork. But really, things just got like really bad. Like I really dropped the ball my second semester of college, and yeah, I guess, you know, I had to drop a few classes, and I had to take a summer session. Like I'm basically in a summer semester right now. I had to take like 3 classes over the summer. Not a great feeling at all. But yeah, I mean, that was like what I did, and it's what I, you know, I'm through that experience now. But definitely I just wanted to like put that out as like a warning to like other people, you know. Like I think the biggest thing I took away from that is it's okay to give up time in your day for studying Japanese, because you know we all have like other things going on in our lives that are bigger than are like more important or just as important as learning Japanese, whether that be like, you know, like family, other relationships, schools, sports. I think that's like something that you know, going forward, people shouldn't feel too guilty about. And yeah, like, you know, I was very headstrong about keeping the 4-hour blocks of immersion that I had, and I let like my grades suffer and like my university work suffer, and you know, as a result, I spent this whole summer taking classes to catch up in my first year. So you know, I definitely have to be a lot better about my time management going forward into the future when, you know, the next semester starts, which is for me like later this month. So yeah, that'll be the start of my second year of university. Oof. But I mean, you know, that's just the biggest thing, you know. Don't be afraid to like give up time for Japanese. You know, as long as you're consistent, I'm sure that everything will be fine, you know, because consistency over like bursts of concentrated efforts, consistency is like way better than that. And yeah, I think that was just like the main thing I wanted to talk about at the end. But yeah, that's pretty much the update video. I can't think of anything else I want to say, but if I do, you'll probably see it in the next time I post an update video. I don't really have plans for the next time. Like I kind of just said before, and I think I said in like my previous video, that I kind of throw out these updates whenever I feel like I've made a considerable amount of progress, or progress that warrants, you know, another upload. But it's kind of hard at this point, because now we're just like kind of, I guess for me, I'm sort of like exiting the beginner stage and going into intermediate stuff, where, you know, like the difficulty is a lot higher. And you know, I don't know, I feel like if I uploaded on a certain schedule as well, that's kind of just like, nah, that's not really like my type of thing. Because, you know, the more, I think what should we call it? Tiger said it best, where it's just like, the more you go through these videos, the more it's gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm improving, and then everyone's just like, all right, nice. But yeah, like these videos kind of, in my opinion, they kind of like lose their charm after a little bit for the person who's making it, and probably the viewers as well, because, you know, there's not much to say after that, after a certain point. But yeah, I think that's the main thing. Maybe like the next time I put out a video, it'll be like when I speak, but that could be like, who knows, like a year from now, like or at the 18-month mark. But I don't know, maybe I'll make another video at a year. Definitely want to make one at 18 months, but I mean, yeah, that's just how it is. But that's it from my end. If you guys are interested in following me on like other things to see, like, because I kind of do like a lot of informal updates on my Twitter, so if you're like interested in seeing like how I'm progressing, I kind of like put stuff out on Twitter and AniList as well. But yeah, if you're interested in that sort of thing, I'll link those in the description. But other than that, there's that's pretty much the video. I hope you guys are doing good on your half for learning Japanese or whatever language, and I wish you the best.